Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are taking on a genuinely massive challenge, transforming the vast, totally chaotic diversity of life on Earth into a perfectly structured, understandable system. By the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how science brings order to all that beautiful chaos. Okay, let's dive right into this. Our roadmap today is actually going to mirror the organizational structure of taxonomy itself. We'll be covering 1. Diversity in the living world. 2. The naming problem. 3. Rules of binomial nomenclature. 4. 4 pillars of taxonomy. And finally, 5. The taxonomic hierarchy. Let's start with Section 1, Diversity in the Living World. To really understand why we need a system in the first place, you kind of have to step back and look at the sheer scale of the biosphere. I mean, from freezing, snow-capped mountains in Antarctica down to boiling hot springs where microscopic cells somehow thrive in scalding water, life has adapted to conquer nearly every single corner of this planet. Scientists have identified and documented somewhere around 1.7 to 1.8 million unique species. 1.8 million. And here's the crazy part. That is just what we know about. New species, from deep-sea blobfish to entirely new subspecies of whales, are literally being discovered all the time. The diversity is truly staggering. Which leads us to the ultimate question, right? How can anyone possibly track, study, and actually understand such an overwhelming variety of organisms? If you tried to study every single one of those 1.8 million species individually, it would be utterly impossible. To make sense of the whole shebang, we need a massive global system of organization. But before we can organize them, we have to know what to call them. Moving on to Section 2, the naming problem. Before the scientific community finally got on the same page, just trying to talk about an organism could be a complete nightmare. You see, local names cause massive confusion. Take something simple like a potato or a mango. That one item might have a dozen totally different names depending on what country, state, or even village you're standing in. It's completely regional. If a scientist in India discovers something amazing about a local plant, a scientist in Brazil might have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Scientific names are the solution. They give us a standardized, universal naming system that acts as the ultimate translation tool understood globally by every single scientist, regardless of their native language. This brings us to Section 3, Rules of Binomial Nomenclature. So, how do we actually create this universal language? Well, enter the scientific solution, binomial nomenclature. Introduced by the brilliant scientist Carolus Linnaeus, this is a standardized naming system where every single organism gets a two-part scientific name. By creating this system, Linnaeus essentially united the global scientific community. He allowed them to finally speak the exact same biological language. It was a real game changer. Let's look at a totally relatable example, the mango. If you wanted to ask for a mango in the universal language of science, you'd call it Mangifera indica. Let's break that down. The first word, Mangifera, represents the genus. The second word, indica, is the specific species, also known as the specific epithet. And you might notice a little lin at the end there. That simply credits Carolus Linnaeus, the author who first described and named it. Now, to keep things perfectly uniform, scientists have to follow a few punchy rules when formatting these binomial names. First up, the names are always of Latin origin. Why Latin? Because it's a dead language, meaning the words aren't going to suddenly change meaning over time. Second, if you type it, it's got to be in italics, but if you handwrite it, you have to separately underline the genus and the species. Third, the genus name always starts with a capital letter, while the species name is completely lowercase. And finally, just like we saw with the mango, the author's abbreviation can pop up at the very end. Let's jump into Section 4, 4 pillars of taxonomy. Okay. Naming an organism is fantastic, but we also need a much broader framework to organize literally all of life. When a brand new organism is discovered, scientists follow 4 specific steps. These are the pillars of taxonomy. First is characterization. This is where we study the external and internal features. Are its ears long? Does it have scales? Second is identification, comparing those features to figure out exactly what kind of organism it is. Third is classification, grouping it into a specific category based on those observable features. And only then do we hit step 4, nomenclature, officially giving it its scientific name. But here's the thing, science doesn't just want to sort things into neat little boxes. We actually want to know the history behind them. And that is exactly where systematics comes in.
Systematics is the scientific study of the diversity of organisms, but crucially, it includes their evolutionary relationships over time. It's not just about what a creature looks like today. It's about understanding its ancestors, how it evolved, and how it's genetically connected to the rest of the life forms on Earth. It's like a giant puzzle.
And finally, Section 5, the taxonomic hierarchy. With all of this data, we can finally build the ultimate organizational structure. But to understand this hierarchy, you really need to know one specific word: taxon. A taxon, or plural, taxa, is simply a specific category, level, or rank within our biological classification system. So whether we're talking about a super broad group, like animals, or a highly specific group like dogs, each of those levels is considered a taxon. Now, memorizing the exact order of these taxonomic ranks, yeah, it can be a little tricky. But there is a brilliant, slightly humorous mnemonic to help you remember the progression from the largest group down to the smallest. All you have to do is remember this phrase: keep pot clean or family got sick. The really crucial point here is how perfectly that little mnemonic maps to the actual biological terms. Keep stands for kingdom, the absolute broadest category. Pot is for phylum, or division if we happen to be talking about plants. Clean is for class, or is for order. Family is, well, obviously family. Got is for genus, and sick is for species, which is the most specific fundamental unit of classification. Kingdom all the way down to species. As you navigate this hierarchy, keep one golden rule in mind. As we go higher up the ladder, the total number of organisms increases, but their shared characteristics actually decrease. Think of a family as a giant basket. You can fit multiple different genera, like cats, lions, and leopards, into that one basket. Now, because the basket is huge, it holds a lot of animals, but a house cat and a roaring lion share far fewer specific traits than, say, two house cats would. The higher you go, the broader the similarities become. And the best part? This entire system works flawlessly in practice. It's so cool to see how seamlessly everything from a human being to a tiny stalk of wheat can be categorized. Let's take a man, biological name Homo sapiens, and trace him all the way up. Genus Homo, family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, all the way up to phylum Chordata. We can do the exact same structured breakdown for a housefly, Musca domestica, or our mango from earlier, Mangifera indica. It provides a perfect universal address for every single living thing. So, we've built this absolutely incredible framework to understand the 1.8 million species we currently share our planet with. But remember, life is continuous. It's incredibly dynamic. Every single year, scientists discover totally bizarre new species hiding in unexplored ocean trenches and dense rainforests. And as we push those boundaries of exploration, we really have to ask ourselves, will our current taxonomic framework be robust enough to hold them all? Or will future discoveries literally force us to redraw the very map of life? It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? And it just goes to show that the science of organizing life is never truly finished. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you leave today with a newfound appreciation for the deeply structured beauty of the living world.